Okay, now let's connect. Let's continue in YouTube until next serious disconnect. Uh, so let's start from traditional question about do you hear me and see me? And then if yes, let's create one more package inside OP package. So new package, let's call it geometry. And then one more class inside, one more time geometry, but with uppercase, and main function inside. So this will be a class from where we will create a new another classes instances and will manipulate with them. So please create a new package, sub package inside OP package, and there one more class called geometry with main function inside. Okay, now let's start from so let me explain a little bit some concepts of object-oriented approach. So as I have mentioned before, the real production applications may consist of thousands of class files. That is necessary because this logic of this application and work tasks resolved by this are really complex. Imagine so, for example, the latest Boeing constructed has 6 millions of details. So imagine how much is it. And they all these details have its blueprints, its so groups of engineers worked on each detail, tried to connect these details and so on. So 6 millions. No one really could take this all into one head and to have all these details in one head and manipulate with them. But it's possible mm, to split all this on some, let's say, abstraction levels. So from the most abstract level, we can see a plane with I don't know, with door, wings, elevators, and so on. So cabin and so on. But when we go deeper in each part, we will see much more additional details. So when we will get into engine, we will see uh, hundreds of thousands of separate details, but we do not see all them from the upper in general plan. One more example. So let's think about a house. So we stand, I don't know, in 100 meters in front of house, and what do we see? We see a wall, a door, a window, and that's all. A roof. Uh, so that's the most major parts. When we come closer, for example, we come till door, we can see door in detail. So we can see, so this door has this special glass to see from inside who is in front of door. We see a lock. We see, I don't know, this special door for, I don't know, cats and dogs or mail. Or we can see a bell and so on. So now when we come closer, we can see more details, and we can, if we're going in more details, we can see, for example, inside lock, we will see this parts of a lock mechanism. But we do not think about this lock mechanism details when we stand in 100 meters from a house and are looking on a general picture. So let's get back to OOP. So if we need to somehow define this house that's mentioned before, so we could have a class house that consists from, I don't know, roof, door, windows, walls. Then we can come into class, but everything that is related really to door, we do not describe into class house. We can describe it in a class door. So we describe everything related to door, including this lock mechanism. And that's all the details that are located inside lock mechanisms. They are embedded inside this class of lock mechanism. So that's how we can this split this general picture to split the whole complexity into let's say abstraction levels. And behind these abstract layers, we can embed these classes one, and each class should should contain only the logic that it's only about that class. For example, lock mechanism should consist only of details that is included in, not something that is related to, for example, root of a house. So each class should be very consistent, small, and atomic. So that should contain only everything related to this class and perform only some functions that relates to this class, but do it right. So we can think of classes of some small smart components that are minimally related to one of another, so that are not creating spaghetti between each other, but still they can do its job, but only its job, and do it well. So for now, we will create several classes. So I give you a formula of Heron. So we will calculate triangle. So for now, imagine a triangle that is located somewhere in vacuum. So here we have x and y axis. So here we have a 0. And we will have a triangle that can be drawn something like this. So this point, so triangle consists of 3 lines that are described by 3 points. So let me check the correct coordinates. 5, 2, 3, 5. So here we will create some classes. First, we need to create abstraction for each point, because we do need to store coordinate of each point. So each point is described. So we are talking only about non-volumic features, so only plane features like triangle. So we need to store two coordinates of each point. So let's create a class, name it point. So we will create a class that is needed to for one very detailed abstraction called point. So our triangle will still consist of points. So here inside this class, what we do need to store. So let's just discuss for now. What do we need in this class? Yes, we need to store coordinates, but each point only consists of two numbers, x and y. So we do not need array here. Yes, we need to store coordinates, but not of first point. So this point can be used. This class can describe each point. So we can have only one class of describing point, but we will have three instances of this class. So your first assignment is to write to define to describe this class. So please create two integers x and y. Then so variables x, y, then constructor that will accept this x and y, and two functions for getting values. So get x, get y. So how we will do it? So let's start from public ints. So these two variables, so they are absolutely enough to store information about each point. So here we will have x is equal to 1, y is equal to 1. Here we will have x equal to 5, y equal to 2. Next, here's constructor. So just to economy lines of code and let's and to make code more readable, let's assign these values just when we are creating every new point. So let's create a constructor that also gets these values. And then we write. Then we are assigning these values to instance fields. The latest is so please rewrite this and then we will talk about these special getter functions. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about these access modifiers. So public mean that these variables are visible and can be used and changed from everywhere inside application. So that's not really great. So I can show you some examples. For example, we have some person with public int age. But, well, you see, if we have this field as public, we can change its value, for example, for negative. And that's not really great. So we will have some bugs in our application if we can change this internal value with something that is not really possible. That's why usually these internal variables, they are not used from outside. So they are just uh, once or sometimes in special way twice given, and then they are just used inside. Sometimes they are get from outside, but not set one more time. So in most cases, values are given once and read more times. That's why we do not need to have them public. So let's change this public on private. Uh, so private means that these variables can be used only inside of class. There are additional access modifiers, but we do not cover them in this course. So again, or not? So looks like translation is still working. Okay, so but if we're doing these variables private, we cannot just cannot access them and read. That's why we can create special functions called getters to get the values, not to change, but only get and read. Okay, now so let me show you some hint to. So this function usually looks like this: get and name of variable, and then just return the variable. So that's how can I write it by hands, but I will show you some hint how to not to write it. So here you can put pointer here, for example, nearly so after constructor. Next you press code. So you press keyboard combination Alt Insert, and here is the option for getter. So please repeat after me here. So you put pointer somewhere after constructor or after this command, and then press Alt Insert. And here's option to choose getter. So when you are so have you found this? That's a key on your keyboard. So please then choose option getter. And here you can hold Control and choose both of the variables for generation. So just by clicking mouse I can choose one of them, but if I hold Control key I can choose them both. Or that's maybe not a problem, you can just perform the same operation for second variable. Then we choose OK, and look here, now I have this code generated. So if by some reasons you did not get it, so you can write it by hands. Uh, that's that's because you do not have pointer inside class. So if you have pointer outside class, so after this last curly brace, you can generate only copyright. You need to have pointer here inside the class. So we never write code outside a class, only inside. So if by some reasons you did not get these menus, so please write this code by hands. So I mean manually. So that's basically just a function that returns value, uh, this inner state value of one of its variables. Now we have this class point, and well, it's a well-defined class that performs only one job. This stores uh, one geometrical point value. So we can store some coordinates inside of a point, and we can use this point later for more complex geometric features. Okay, everyone got this. So class point with variables, constructor, and getters. So now let's get back into geometry class and create some points that we have defined here. So point A is equal to new point with coordinates 1 and 1. Point B is equal to new point with coordinates 5 and 2. And one more point. Let's call it C. New point with coordinates 3 and 5. So great. So we will later work with triangle, but for now we have defined a class point, and here we can store information about 3 points that will create a triangle for us. So So we cannot store this 1 and 1 or 5 or 2 inside a simple primitive value by itself. So we cannot put it into one int. And that's how we created some complex type, a whole class that defines some point. And here and there we can store x and y. So with this class we can define some more complex features of geometry. Okay, so we have defined point, but let's get back to these pictures. What do we see here? We see lines that are connected. So to calculate this triangle, for example, square, area, to calculate it, we need to know length of these lines. So now let's create a new class called line. So here it is point class one more time. So a small practical assignment for you now. Please write internals of this class line. So line consists of 2 points. So please create this internal state of class line that consists of 2 points. And please create constructor that accepts as a parameters these 2 points and getters for for starting point and finish point. So you can name these points, for example, start and finish. So each line has its start and finish. So for point we have named these variables x and y. For line we can call these variables start and finish, for example. So is this assignment clear for now? Okay, so I give you 6 minutes for that till 21, till 7 minutes after 21. Okay, now let's do it together. So this is how we can embed objects one into another. So we recently we had defined class point, but we can use these class instances here inside class lines. So private point start and private oi, private point finish. So here we can use not only Java primitives, doubles and so on. So we can use another class objects here. So about private and public. So just for now, so we have more access modifiers than private and public. So just for now and till the end of the course, rule is next. Classes are always public. This uh, class, this instance field is private. Functions that are used from outside, they are public. But if they are used only if they are used only inside class, so they are not used from outside, then they are private. So that are the rules. So constructor is always public. So public line, here it is constructor that accepts these 2 points, point start and point finish. Now we say that now we assign that values that came here through parameters, and this finish is equal to finish. And now getters. So I will just generate them. I'm lazy to write them. I will generate. So does it look more or less that you have? So if not, then please correct. So this keeping internal state private is also called in object-oriented approach called encapsulation. So each class holds this own internals, let's say, inner secrets. So class then is well defined. Nobody can somehow break its internal state, internal consistency. Uh, uh, so if you did not use point, so please switch to point. So and about this encapsulation, so one of its features that we can hold this variable, this internal state, not just by some primitives, but also just as some another class fields. And so here we can perform this embedding one class in another, just like as example that I have described on the start of Lection with house. So from the general plan we have some roof, wall, window and door, and then and then we can embed so we can have classes for door that have inside another components that in same way can have more components. So yes, so that is a feature. So we have defined point, and that's absolutely complete class for us. Line consists of 2 points. So here we have 2 points, start and finish. Okay, now okay, so now I will have these 3 classes split. So now let's try to create one line. Line AB is equal to new line, and now we pass 2 points to that line. So this class constructor expects that we will give 2 lines, 2 points to construct a line. So here I can give these values A and B, for example. So I can give another point C, for example. But let it be for now line that consists of points A and B. So, okay, good question. I'll try to understand. Okay, so, okay, understood. So here we have just defined that we will use this point. So here it is not created. So uh, so this starting so the value of this start and finish on the start of class life cycle will be null. So here we do so these values will not be initialized from a start. So this will be initialized only here when we created a real points and gave them here. So only when these these two points will be created and put inside here inside constructor, only then these values will be initialized. So remember when on the start of this course I have shown you int e, and now e is equal to 5. So here we split initialization and uh, split declaration and initialization. So absolutely the same thing happens here. So here we have just declared that we will use points, but they do not have absolutely any value. They will get value only here, when somebody will call this constructor and just pass these real values. This outside is our class geometry. So here we have created absolutely real points and put them here inside constructor. So this code will be executed. And only then these points will get a value and will live here. So here we have a line. Okay, now what can we do with the line? Now please let's create a function that will print line itself. So let it be public function. So printing function usually is void because we do not return anything. We just printing the state. Print self. We do not expect any parameters because everything we need we just hold here. So to print to describe line to describe itself, we need to print the first point and the last point. So what can so for this we need to print start point and finish point. So looks like we need to teach point class to print itself also. So let's also here public string or public void print self to teach point to describe itself. Sorry, no, that's bad idea. Now I understand why. Okay, let be just a line that knows how to print self. Okay, now let's here put system out print line, and here let print coordinates of a start and print coordinates of a finish. So here I'll just print something like that. Start get x plus this semicolon inside quotes plus start get y plus this. Let's extract it to variable and let's call it start point. Start point, then one more finish point, and then let's print start point plus hyphen plus finish point. And here inside geometry, let's call this function print self. So here it is this function. Rewrite. So please be very careful with these pluses because we have a lot of them. So the important moment here that we do not use this, that we do not get these variables just by its name. So we have to use these getter functions for reading. So if we declare variables private, we cannot read them from outside. So class line, it's outside of class point. So we just can get them by calling function get x or get y. Please alert in the chat when you are done with this. Okay, let's just run. And you should see something like that. So coordinates of first point and coordinates of finish point. Now let's use our old good debug and look what's happening here line by line. So on the first line of working code, we are declaring a new point. So we have created point A, and look what's here inside. It is point, and it has these variables inside 1 and 1. Next, we have created new point. So it's still of class point, but this holds absolutely another values. So we have declared class ones, and we can, and it is universal to use for as a point. So it can hold any integer values for x and y. So here we created 3 points. Now we are creating line. Again, it's universal class for line because it can get any of points as a start and a finish. So what is happening here inside constructor? So it accepts two parameters, start and finish. So on a start, so before this assignment, these instant fields are nulls. So they exist, but they are not initialized with values. So here doesn't new value creation doesn't happen here. And only then these two lines of code are executed, so this assignment happens. Only then these two start and finish these 2 points are now initialized with values. So here we have used point A and point B. Now here we have this start point 1 and 1 and 5 and 2, exactly like we have used here. So point called A here became point called start here, and this B became here. So we do not need to call them exactly the same. So these two becomes these two here, and here happens the assignment. Next we are returning here to print self function, and let's go inside. So here inside, what do we do? So we take the first getting x coordinate of first of start point and y. So here it is our point, our start variable that is of class point. We can get x and get y of z. So what this get x and get y are doing? So they are just returning value. So this start point has x is equal to 1 and y is equal to 1. And now we are just performing get of them. So here is just return happening. So we can put it in variable, this int x, but we can use it here just as, so we can shorten this syntax. So here we are just creating this string. So just as a text. So we are concatenating this. So our string start point looks like this. String for finish point looks like this, because here we have getting these coordinates of finish point. And here we are just concatenating them with this additional minus sign. So this is what we have printed to outside. Okay, now let's get back to class line and let's declare one more function that we will return as double, and it is called length. So this function, so I will write here return 0, but this will be your homework to calculate length of a line and return calculated value. So here IB length. So here I expect that length will be calculated and I'll could print it. So for now, it is everything clear with this class line, how the printing happens, how it is connected to class point. And so do you know how to calculate this length inside? Does anybody still listen to the translation? So no, to calculate length between two lines, you will need Pythagoras formula. So this line length is calculated here. So imagine we have created this one more triangle, and here you calculated by Pythagoras formula. So you calculate difference on x between 2 points, difference on y by 2 points, and calculate this is just by Pythagoras formula. So if everything is clear, you have for now two homeworks. So finish this matrix 3 class by function transpose, and then finish class line by implementing this function length. So this should not return 0, this should return some calculated value. So for now, if everything is clear, I'll commit this code, and so I wish you a nice evening and goodbye. If you still have questions, please private message me with them. Goodbye.